Hi, I'm Dr. Charlotte Norton, Medical Director for the National Slimming and Cosmetic Clinics. Welcome to our first Facebook Live today. It's a Q&A session, so I will be talking a little bit about why it's good to diet in December, as well as answering any questions that come up. So our topic for today is why is it worth keeping to your diet in December and not giving up because it's Christmas? So the first thing to say is that December is an entire month and Christmas is just 1 week of it. So by staying focused for the 2 or 3 weeks leading up to Christmas, it can help limit how much weight you gain over that Christmas week. Now that's not being said you shouldn't take off those few days that you want to enjoy Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, Boxing Day, and enjoy being free or more free with your diet. But by staying strong to your healthy living plan in the weeks leading up to it, it can help you avoid that horrible weight gain that sometimes can come after Christmas when you start the new year feeling like you've got a lot more weight to lose. One of the main areas or questions patients often ask is how to cope at Christmas parties and all the festivities that come leading up to Christmas time. So we have a few tips about how to cope at these parties, and there is a blog going out on our Facebook page tomorrow. One of the main and one of the good options when it comes to Christmas parties is not starving yourself during the day. Lots of people think I'm going out in the evening, so I will avoid eating throughout the day so I can have a 3-course meal or drinks that I want, because then I just have all the calories in one go. Sadly, that doesn't work very well for your weight loss. And you tend to find by not eating throughout the day, you're more ravenous and more likely to make bad food choices when it comes to picking your meals. So we advise that you have your normal meals throughout the day. Try and stick to fairly low calorie meals. So maybe if you know you're going to be enjoying a meal in the evening that's high in fat or high in carbohydrate, limit those with what you're eating throughout the day, and make sure you drink plenty of water, and then go ahead and have your meal in the evening as you plan. You often find if you've planned ahead and eaten in a more structured way throughout the day that you may feel full when you're eating your meal when you're out in the restaurant, and you may be able to not finish your entire plate. Often we can feel because we've got or been served a portion we should eat it all, but listen to your body. If you've eaten it and you feel that you're full, then it's best to stop there and not finish the plate. So it looks like we may have our first question coming through. I can see it coming along at the bottom of the screen. So I'll wait and see what question we have. I think it's slowly coming through. So when it comes to eating out in a restaurant, especially at Christmas time, you usually get a set meal plan. So you can think ahead and plan ahead. So try your best to choose the healthier options. Sometimes picking one of the vegetarian options can be a good choice because these tend to be a little bit lower in fat, especially if you've got meat and saturated fats. And also, by taking away the choice from the actual day, if you are feeling quite hungry and you maybe would have picked a slightly more indulgent choice on the day, you've got round that by picking before you go. Desserts. Now, desserts are often very tempting and often very calorific around Christmas time, and it's fine if you are having one of your days where you're choosing to enjoy your Christmas day. I've got my first question, so let's have a read of that here. So I've got a question from Becky, who asks me, how do I make my Christmas dinner healthier? So I assume Becky means on Christmas Day itself, where there's obviously lots of trimmings and things to load your plate with. So thinking from the perspective of the actual main meal, if you've got meat, it's usually a good idea to take off the skin. If it's poultry, so chicken or turkey, take the skin off the meat. If you're having a joint of red meat, then avoid any of the fat on the cut if you can. Make sure that you don't overload your plate. It's better to serve yourself a smaller portion than to put lots on your plate. By piling it up, it can make us feel like we've got to eat what we've put on there. There often are lots of options for adding other trimmings to your Christmas dinner plate. So just try and pick as wisely as you can. If you want to have a little bit of everything, try one of everything. And then if you want a little bit more, if your body thinks you don't feel full, then go back and try other things. Be careful with things like gravies and sauces as well, because they can often be quite rich in butter. So maybe if you're eating Christmas dinner at home, you can make your own gravies. So I've got another question here, and a good question to cover is from Sarah. She says, what do we do about drinking alcohol at Christmas? So alcohol is another calorific part of Christmas celebrations. Now, for any patients watching that are taking our prescription medication, then obviously we wouldn't advise that you drink on the days you've taken your medication. However, if you're taking a break from medication, or for anybody else that's not taking that type of medication, then alcohol can be a big source of your calories. So number one, if you're going out for dinner or going to a restaurant or out with your family, sometimes it can be a good idea to offer to drive. That takes away the temptation of having a drink. If you are going to have a drink or want to, then it's about picking better choices. So wine and beer are often full of calories, useless calories to your body as well, and often drinking too much alcohol can raise your appetite and actually make you eat more as well as the calories from the alcohol. So try and switch to other choices. Prosecco has fewer calories than wine, and clear spirits and diet or low calorie mixes can often be a good choice as well. Stick away from cocktails, especially ones that are loaded with fruit juices, because often there's a lot of calories in those, and you don't feel the benefit. Your body doesn't feel the benefit of those calories. So aim for those better alcoholic choices. We've got another question from someone who asked about tips about eating out. Now, we've covered a lot of that with what I started with, but like we said, to sum it up, maybe try and pick your meal choices in advance. Make sure you don't starve yourself on the day so you're not feeling ravenously hungry come the time you go out for your meal. And I've got another question here from another Sarah, and asked about cheese and a cheese board. Can cheeses be healthy? Cheese is a lovely part of Christmas celebrations and often comes out late in the evenings or after meals. Cheese is obviously a source of dairy and calcium, which we need. However, it is also high in fat. So if you're tempted by the cheese board, then try and pick smaller portions of each type of cheese. Hard cheeses can be slightly better than some softer cheeses or creamier cheeses. However, overall, I would say try and restrict yourself to just a small side plate, maybe just a few small selections of cheese, and try and complement it with grapes or fruit instead of having lots of crackers or butter. I think I lost a question further up as they're streaming in, but I've got another one here that says, am I better to start my diet in January and start in the new year with a new me? Choosing when to start your diet can be really difficult, but by waiting till January, if you've indulged over the entire of December and the entire Christmas month, you could be facing a much harder start point. Once we've been overindulging, it's often hard to get our mindset back into the I want to lose weight game, and you can find the first couple of weeks much harder when you get started because you're almost withdrawing from all the high sugar and fat foods that you've eaten over Christmas. So I would say no day is better to start your diet than right now. In these couple of weeks leading up to Christmas, you can, for the majority of the week, which is your normal routine, stick to a well-balanced calorie-controlled diet. Pick the days, the occasions, the times that you've got events or things that you'd like to do, and then focus on keeping a good diet those days in between. The Christmas period is also a really good time for doing a bit more exercise. We tend to be off work for at least a portion of the Christmas period, all the families together. It's a nice time to go out for family walks, and obviously Christmas parties, there's always an option for getting on the dance floor, so you can burn a fair few calories by getting yourself moving a bit more as well. Another question here is about, is it okay to have a few days off over Christmas, or should you feel guilty? It would be horrible to say, no, you have to stay strong every day over Christmas. No, pick a few key days where you know that you've maybe got family coming round, or you're going out with friends, or you'd like to have a day where you can relax and eat those slightly naughtier choices. And don't make yourself feel guilty. If you've made the commitment to just choosing those days to indulge, and you've been strong otherwise, working hard on your diet throughout December, then don't give yourself the guilt for having a few days off. However, even on your bad days, try not to go too over the top. Maybe think, if it's an off day, well, I'm going to really indulge in my evening meal, or I'm going to treat myself to a dessert, or I'm going to have the alcoholic drink I wouldn't normally have. Try not to chuck everything at your body in one go, because if you have been being healthy with your diet leading up to it, it can sometimes actually lead to you feeling a bit rubbish, a bit bloated and a bit uncomfortable. So pick what part of that day you'd like to indulge for and aim for that. Okay, so I think we've covered most of the sort of the ideas and topics about dieting around Christmas time and December. As I mentioned earlier, there is a blog going out tomorrow on the Facebook page which talks about these tips as well. So thanks very much for listening and for your questions, and we will see you next week for another Facebook Live.